missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is a returning client. A little bit about her color history is that she comes in, I want to say every maybe 6 weeks or so to touch up her base color, which is permanent color to cover her gray. And then I would say maybe once or twice a year we'll add in some highlights to kind of give her some dimension. But relatively when we do a full head of highlights and balayage and all that, it lasts her this long and everything just looks super seamless like it does right now. And so I have already gone in with her base, and her base color I use the Faction 8 permanent color line, and I do a level 6 natural. Now when you're covering gray, especially if I believe if it's over 25% gray, you should be adding in a natural to help cover the gray. I think anything that is not a natural sometimes doesn't cover it properly. So for her, I am just using a natural for her base. And then I just leave the base on as I go in and go straight to her highlights. Since it's permanent color, it has a processing time of 35 minutes at room temperature. No heat is necessary. And you can really leave the product on up until then and even longer, because after that 35 minutes it doesn't even like do anything else. It doesn't get darker or anything, because I know I mixed up a level 6 and I'm confident that it will stay at a level 6. The other thing is her base color. I do mix it with 20 volume just because she does have not like super stubborn or resistant gray, but if I use anything less it definitely would not cover some of her gray. So for her foil placement, we want to do something that is going to grow out really soft, super low maintenance, just like we've been doing. She's a client who originally came to me wanting to do like some sort of gray blending, and you know what? She had color history of like various different permanent color dyes, and her hair just couldn't really get that light that first session with me. So this color that you see on her mids and ends is kind of the lightest that her highlights were able to get at that time, and she ended up loving the tone and what we did with that, and she realized that she didn't mind coming in a little bit more often just to touch up her base color. Keep in mind, this is a client, she'll come in like just for her base color and she doesn't mind the warmth. I feel like it looks good against her skin tone, so we only do base color like every, I want to say 6 weeks or so, and we'll touch up her highlights like we're doing, or her balayage and the toner all at once, and then just kind of let it fade out, and it just fades into what you can see on her mids and ends. It's a really pretty like neutral slash slightly warm tone. It's not like super brassy or anything, but it definitely fades out really pretty and complements her base color, and she's able to go pretty long in between her highlight appointments. So today I want to go over why she's able to, or like how she's able to go this long, like what allows it. And I feel like since we did a full like balayage color that first time she came in, her mids and ends are pretty much the kind of lightness that she wants and the amount of dimension she wants, and it's perfect because she's able to go this long. Now if we did a really heavy weave or a heavy placement, then she might need to do her highlight sooner just because the contrast might be a little bit more prominent. But right now the contrast of the regrowth to her highlights is extremely soft. I feel like it blends in really well, and so the key with this placement is to leave quite a bit of dimension in between my foils. So I am going in doing my signature slicing technique, and I did do a weave around the hairline at the nape of the neck, and then I'm doing a center parting and doing slices. When I'm doing my slices, I'm still trying to make sure that my slices are nice and see-through. I'm applying the lightener and just lightly feathering up until we get to the base. And when I do her base color too, I don't drag it down past her line of demarcation. I try my best to kind of get it to the exact part of where her line of demarcation is. And so when I paint up, essentially I'm kind of painting up and it's not really quite hitting the permanent color, but it's very close, and I'll just kind of feather up, and I don't ever have any issues with the permanent color like bleeding into the bleach or anything like that. I feel like doing it this way has definitely been good so far. And so I'm going to continue my slices all the way up till I get to her front hairline. If there are previous highlights, I definitely pick them out and just be very careful with only lightening up to the line of demarcation from her highlights or anything like that. The other thing I want to take note is that I am trying to kind of look for areas that have a longer root. Because she waited so long in between appointments, I am technically going in and just trying to do a full but a little bit more spaced out than what we did last time. And so I am still looking for pieces that are along the longer side so that we can have this grow out very soft and leaving a little bit more dimension in between, because one, she has previous highlights and we want the regrowth to be extremely soft. So once I get to about a little over an inch from the hairline in the front, that's when I kind of turn that over and I'm going to start the money piece placement. And so for her money piece placement, I'm going to be going in with some slices because I want her to have a lighter front that kind of frames the color. I feel like it looks good on her. And because we're doing a base color too, it's not going to look too bold and close to her scalp because she has that base color there to kind of buffer it. I did forget to mention that I did use lightener for her lightening, and I do mix a bowl of pretty much 10 volume in the beginning, and then we switch it up to 20 for the rest of the head. And I generally don't like to go over 20, even if I'm going over like old permanent color or base color, because I find that 20 is just a good volume and strength to where it doesn't die out fast and it doesn't damage the hair. So since I want the front to be lighter, I am going to be doing 2 slices on the hairline on the sides before I connect that front and back. But of course, the section that I do above the ear will always be a weave. I find that doing a weave above the ear and around the nape just gives it the perfect amount of softness. I feel like if I slice those areas, it would definitely give a very harsh grow out. So even if I'm doing my slicing technique all throughout the head, the only places that I definitely would never do a slice is right above the ear and right above the nape hairline, only because when they do put their hair up, if I did ever do a slice, it would just look extremely harsh. So I'm going to continue my slices up the side. You can see I leave quite a bit of negative space. I want to say I leave at least like an inch in between these foils on the side because again, we want something that's going to be more dimensional, very soft and lived in. And you can see how long her roots are with this type of placement is kind of how far she can go along with getting away with her color still looking great. And I feel like doing the very thin finely slices gets a really nice clean even lift to where when the toner does fade it doesn't look too brassy. So for her toner, I did a shadow root of just 6-0, which is a 6 natural, and it's going to pretty much match her base color because I want something that's going to mimic and kind of melt those highlights that we just put in. But for the mids and ends, I'm going to mix up and apply a 7-8, which is a level 7 brown, and I did mix that with a 7-0, which is a level 7 natural, and so the brown is going to kind of give it a more neutral tone, and then the natural is more ash base for a natural tone. So it is going to help cancel out a little bit more warmth and just kind of control and make it a really pretty tone. And when I did this, I did the shadow root first, I brushed it out, and then I did the lighter tone on the mid all over, and then once I applied that mid tone all over the head, then I brushed it out and then started to apply on the mids and ends. And then lastly is when I hit the money piece area. And I let that sit for about at least 7 to 10 minutes. Alrighty guys, so here is her finished look. This is typically what her hair looks like once we are done with her whole thing, including her base and highlights. So touch-ups with these, when she comes in every month and a half or so, this is gonna get a little bit lighter, like you could have seen how her highlights had gotten when she first came in, and it's just gonna create this really pretty warm blonde tone, but nothing too brassy because she's lifted really pretty underneath. And we're just gonna really just work on touching up her roots, and she's really in and out in about 45 minutes to an hour. And so for her, that is something that is doable, and just she loves the tone and everything. So I feel like this works for her, even though in the beginning when she first came to me, she did have intentions to do some sort of low maintenance gray blending. But it's just to show that everyone is different, and sometimes gray blending isn't for everybody and their lifestyle, and may not even be ideal for what their hair can do at the current time based off of their color history. And so with that being said, I would say that creating or thinking of other options like these is a great way to help one grow out the old permanent color that it has been more stubborn, because doing a base like this that with professional color is a lot easier to highlight out versus doing at-home color. So there's so many different options if you are a client or have a client that can't do gray blending right away. And this was just an example of one of my clients that she first had intentions to doing gray blending, and we ended up not doing it, and she still loved it anyways.